Okay, hello, my name's Tash and I'm the principal here at City College Peterborough. It's an absolute privilege, a joy and a pleasure to sit down at any opportunity and talk about the college and what we do here. So I am the head of service. I've worked at the college since 2008 and I joined the college as a tutor, and I taught predominantly at our John Mansfield campus with young people, and I'd always taught in that arena. Love education, love the role that it plays in someone's life, particularly a young person's life when they're going through that transition. And then over my time here at the college, I realised I was actually working somewhere rather special, transitioning from Peterborough College of Adult Education into what we now know as City College Peterborough. So over that time, I became the principal of the John Mansfield campus, having had some really good role models and mentors that worked with me at John Mansfield that transitioned me into the leadership role. I then find myself now as principal of the entire service, and it's been a steep learning curve. It's something every single day I get a fresh new challenge. I always say, I don't know the answers, I don't know all of them, but together we'll go on a journey and we'll find the best way to provide the best service for the learners and supported people, because fundamentally, that is our reason for being. That is why myself and the colleagues who I work with come to work every single day, working together and learning together to provide opportunities for the people that we work and support.
Okay, so in that regard then, how has it changed education in since 2008? How have things changed?
It's changed massively, I think, not just in Peterborough, but if we look at the education landscape as a whole. Obviously, we think about the SEND reforms and particularly the cohort of young people who I was working with. We've seen massive numbers of young people with sort of special educational needs requirements being recognised, and those turning into those formal education and healthcare plans. What that means in the classroom is that practitioners, teachers, teaching assistants now have to have a really wide lens when they're looking at the classroom. It's not just go in, deliver objective, deliver a learning outcome. You've got to be far more flexible than that. And if we think about the wider landscape of the entire college and we think about adult education, COVID had massive impact upon that. The way that we do things, the challenges that we face, but people's opinion, what people want to get out of life now is very, very different. So whether that's adults that are looking for, I want more, I want an experience, I want to retrain, I want to upskill, along with those mental health challenges. Now, what I am seeing is education professionals being the deliverer of frontline services. They're not just holding the education part of the pie anymore. Mental health and the landscape has changed dramatically, and I admire those practitioners that are bringing their A game each and every day. It's difficult and it's a challenge.
So it's more of an overall, it's not just educating people. It's more of an overall view of to people's improving their lives as a whole then, is that fair?
Definitely, and I think we were starting to see that in our young people's provision when we look at those SEND reforms that came in, and I mentioned education healthcare plans. That's something we've done at City College Peterborough, at John Mansfield campus, really well. I think it's, if anyone gets an opportunity to visit the John Mansfield campus and see the work that we do there with our young people, you can recognise that it's that wraparound 360 support. What we're now seeing is the work that we were conducting and carrying out at John Mansfield is now filtering across the entire college landscape. So it very much is a one-stop shop. We're a hub, we're an educator, we're a place of social interaction, intergenerational activities, lifelong learning, upskilling, careers progression, employment advice. All of those things are happening on any given day here at City College Peterborough. For some people, we really are a lifeline. They come here because we're the only social interaction they're getting. Go back 15 years ago, you would never hear education being described as that, particularly in the adult world. Whereas now, I know City College Peterborough aren't on their own. I speak to lots of colleagues across the sector and they're reporting really similar findings in their own environments.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing, really, that it was never like that 20, 30, 40 years ago, isn't it?
I think so. If you look at I don't know, it fascinates me. If you look at where education has come from and from that sort of post-war say,
Yeah.
the role that skills was playing in Great Britain, building back and building back stronger. We knew the country had gone through this massive, worldwide event, and the country needed to build back. So it's not unusual that skills and adult skills has had a really strong role to play. But I think the way we're looking at it and the recognition, not just of skills, but well-being, and the role that well-being can play, that if you can support someone to have a healthy life, have a positive mental health, the education part becomes so much easier. And I don't think 20 years ago there was a real recognition of that. Today, you can walk into any college, walk into any adult skills provider, and that will be what people like me and colleagues are talking about.
Which is good.
100%.
You've mentioned earlier on that obviously City College caters for a wide range of people. What sort of courses does it have? Give us an overview of what sort of things it has.
One of my favourite things to do here at the college is to be on evening duty, because I can walk around the college and I can go and stand outside classrooms and listen to ESOL classes. So these are individuals who are choosing to enrol in a college programme to improve their English speaking. And that can be from people who are relatively new to the city, people that are studying at sort of level 1 and level 2 and have got a better command. I can then walk down the corridor and listen to a poetry class that's happening and creative writing. I can smell wafting from our sow kitchen, the delights of baking that's happening, Indian cookery, people learning Spanish, Italian. So diverse, the offer that we've got taking place here at the college. It is everything that you could possibly imagine, apart from basket weaving, because people think that's all adult education is. And I'm telling you now, I haven't seen a basket weaving course appear in a prospectus for a long time, but I am seeing a really diverse curriculum that is out there to support individuals, not only on their skills development, economic prosperity, but also their personal prosperity. What can I learn for fun? Perhaps I'm going to learn Italian, perhaps I'm going to go and learn Spanish, perhaps I'm going to do some baking. So it's everything in between.
So how do you decide what courses are actually delivered?
That can be hugely challenging because we're operating partly within grant funded allocations. So we need to look really carefully at labour market information, what jobs are becoming available, where have we got the skills shortages in Peterborough. I'm attending a round table at the House of Commons next week looking at green skills and how the college can play its role within that. So it's about that horizon scanning, but also when we're talking about, creative writing, cookery, it's what do people want to learn? What's going to kind of get them through the door? What's that appetizer? What are those breadcrumbs that we can sort of lay down for people to come in? And for some people, it'll be their first time of walking back into an education environment. So it's about that. You'll hear me say working together and learning together. We don't just deliver something. We talk to people. We look at what the need is and we try and meet that level of need.
Okay. So you've kind of touched on this a little bit. It must be quite inspirational then. I mean, you must have lots of stories of pupils, students you really learners you really inspired and who inspire you as well. Tell us about some of those that you can think of.
I think most recently I was talking to a colleague in the corridor, and most people will say you can hear Tash coming before you see her. Because it takes a village to raise a child and it takes a whole college to make a learner and a supported person. And what I noticed, September is the start of a new term, and I'll come out of here and I will say hello to everyone. And to begin with, people look at me like I've gone out. And over time, they start to say hello back. And then those same people are saying hello to me before I've had an opportunity to say hello to them. So I think that inspiration is taken every single time I step out of my door, whether that's one of our supported people and they're showing me a piece of work that they've done. I was invited to a cookery class to come and have a look at the cooking the guys have been doing. But it happens not just here. I have been in restaurants where literally learners have been yelling across the restaurant, "Hey, Tash, hey, hey, hey." I went to go and look at a property a few years ago, and this car pulled up, and out of the car jumped this young man, very cool, in his suit and his glasses, and he took the shades off and he went, "Hello, Tash," former learner. And I see the part that myself and other colleagues or the college has played in that person's journey. It's hugely inspiring, but equally the staff are inspiring as well. That they make a difficult job look easy. They do it with such passion and such professionalism. Any chance I can get to step back into a classroom, I'm there. I love teaching. I don't get to do it as often these days, but I see what my colleagues are doing, and I am so proud of what they're doing each and every day. It's amazing. It really is wonderful work.
Okay, so that's the enjoyable part. What about the challenges then? What about the tough parts of it?
Gosh, if you sit down in front of any head of service, any principal at the moment, number one is staff wellbeing. Have my staff, I say my staff, I hate that term, my team, we are a team. Have my colleagues got access to the right tools and the support to do their jobs? Because if they haven't, that has a knock-on impact to wellbeing. So number one is staff wellbeing. That's directly linked to, for me, have they got the tools and the resources, which comes down to budgets? Pound for pound, if you look at the funding adult education has got right now compared to 5 years ago, we are absolutely doing more with less. That is pulling rabbits out of hats. That's the challenge when I lock myself in a room with my finance manager and I come out with even more grey hair. But it's a job well done, because we are stretching that pound and we are making it go further and further, because the work that we're doing is so important, but it's a challenge. And if you speak to any senior leader, I would suggest that they would say it's the impact of less money on the service, on what we can provide, but what's the impact on the staff, and can they continue to do their job?
Okay, so with that in mind, then, what's the future like? How is that? Can that be sold? Is that? I mean, is that a...
I think we're going to continually be in a space where we're having to do more for less. I mean, I remember 2008 being called into a meeting in this very campus by the principal at the time and being told more for less is here. And we faced radical cuts as an organisation. I guess I never expected in my time to sort of come out of that and to be faced with that again. Can it be solved? Yeah, with ambition, passion, and clarity. Knowing what we've got to deliver, why we've got to deliver it. Sometimes that means making tough decisions. And I will always try to say yes where I can. Sometimes I have to say to people, no, we just can't do it. People will always know why I've said no, or why the organisation can't do it, but we will keep working in the best interests of the people that we're working with. So I think if people can understand why a decision's been made, then absolutely you can get them on board, and they might not like it, but I want an organisation that's based on being open and being transparent and using every pound of public funding for the good of the people that we're working with. Sometimes you have to get creative and you have to look at things in a different way and not be afraid to be bold and to take those challenges head on, but doing that in an open-hearted, open-spirited way. I think that's how you're going to get the best outcomes. I don't know if it solves it, but it certainly makes life a lot easier.
What would you say is the biggest opportunity for further education in the UK right now?
I think I mentioned green skills. I think that is a real opportunity. That comes with a caveat for me, because we need to make sure that skills are transferable. So green skills absolutely is the future. And if you look at Peterborough and we look at what's happening here with green skills investment, within bigger organisations in Peterborough, we've got the university, we've got the Inspire Education Group. City College Peterborough is part of that eco-landscape of skills. So if that translates to across the UK, where we are as a country, green skills, we've got to absolutely embrace that, and we need to be recognising that within our education system. If I think what are the opportunities wider than that, I think it's to really get hold of the education system by the scruff of the neck and say, let's modernise it. I think some of that started to happen when we talk about Ofsted and we look at the sort of the new framework. I don't think it's gone far enough. If you speak to most people in my position, they're looking for more radical change. They want recognition of the challenges that we're facing day to day and looking at that recognised across the whole landscape. So I think that's the opportunity. And it's incumbent upon every leader in every organisation to really take a cold, hard look at itself and say, what can we do in an environment that is so challenging? How can we continue to inspire people and meet the needs of our communities?
It's funny you should say that. I saw a Facebook page the other day about education. A lot of parents complaining that schools are out of date, or almost in terms of pupils who are neurodiverse, for example. And that would seem to be something, not every, you mentioned it earlier on. Not every pupil is identical, are they? So I keep saying pupil, learner, I should say. I mean, that's true, isn't it?
It's really true. And along with recognition of sort of learning disabilities, supported educational needs, we've got neurodivergency and how that's being recognised within education settings. So again, with our young people, whether that's in school environments, whether that's in nursery and at the start of any child's education career, and how that is then following them through. We need to make sure that colleagues have got access to the right training and the right support to be able to meet those needs. Interestingly, I noticed on the news this morning, they were talking about learners in school who are being suspended. I think that the Secretary of State for Education is saying she doesn't want them now to be suspended and sent home. She wants them retained within school, because going home is accessing social media, it's accessing the Xbox and what's really been learnt there. I completely agree. However, you're talking about removing someone from a classroom environment because they've done something that ultimately couldn't have been managed by the setting. No one wants to be suspending children and young people just for the sake of it, but that will normally come at a point where we're out of tools to manage the behaviour, and to retain that young person in the setting is going to become dangerous. So I accept people saying we don't want to be sending them home, but where do we keep that young person that keeps them safe? We talk about people who are neurodivergent, particularly masking. And what you will see is at the end of the day, that young person, that child will go home. They now will bring all of those behaviours out because they're in an environment where they don't no longer need to mask. So I get keeping them at school stops them going onto social media and almost we're punishing them. Okay, is that really right? Asking them to continue to wear that mask? Would we not be better in preventing it in the first place? Giving teachers access to the right tools. They do a fantastic job. I said it earlier, they make a difficult job look easy. But we need to invest in people, and we need to make sure that neurodivergent young people, adults, children are getting access to the tools. And I don't want to say reasonable adjustment, recognition of individual needs and making sure they are met. Because if we get that bit right, we won't be seeing the number of suspensions and people being sent home. But that comes at a cost. Retaining that person in school will come at a cost. That's my thoughts anyway.
It's very fair. I'm just going to broaden it out on something that is in the news at the moment that's being mentioned about bans on social media for under 16-year-olds. What are your thoughts on that?
I know in my time since teaching, mobile phones, didn't have to worry about it. You had to worry about bullying, you had to worry about name calling, you had to worry about X, Y, and Z. Social media and mobile phones was not something when I first entered the profession that we ever had to worry about. I, for a period of time, managed our wellbeing team at John Mansfield. And what we started to notice on any given day, from the night before, the young people would come in and say, last night on Snapchat, last night on WhatsApp, I was called this, this, and this. The team are then spending the whole day unpicking that. You now fast forward, it's not happening last night, it's happening live. You've got kids taking videos and posting it on TikTok. You've got people being horrible, along with that kind of dopamine hit that comes with that short burst that you get from TikTok. I'm a huge TikToker, right? It's my guilty pleasure. However, I think as an adult, I can put that down. I can go, whoa, you've lost too much time there. Yeah. The children have that. Banning social media for under 16s, I go back to, are you going to drive it underground? Are we not better in looking at educating our young people to be able to manage their interactions? Because is social media going to go away? And are you just creating a cliff edge? So they can't access it to the age of 16, but at 16 they can. Distribution of power, wallop, all of a sudden, given a candy shop, they can access everything. How do we teach young people to stay safe? How do we teach young people to engage appropriately in the new digital and modern era where social media is here to stay? It's revolutionised who we are as a society, as human beings. We need to be giving young people the tools to be able to do that, to do that safely. Flip side, I was walking through the coffee shop the other day. We've introduced no mobile phones in the classroom for our young people. There's these little perspex lockers on the wall when they can lock their phone in. They can see it. Great. Young person happens to be neurodivergent, and he summoned up the courage and he said, "You're the principal. I want to talk to you." He said, "I've been banned from using my phone this year, and I want to talk to you about the impact that's had upon me." Food for thought, because he is using it as a way to regulate.
Yeah.
So that probably hasn't answered it fully, but do I think we need a full-on ban? I think we need better strategies to manage it, and we need to recognise what the core of the problem is and how we educate young people to deal with the new world. That would be my answer.
And that's a great answer, because it does seem like a sort of sledgehammer to crack a nut a little bit banning it, isn't it? Because there's positives of social media. It's keeping up with friends that you don't live near, or ringing relatives, or seeing news that you're interested in that
Absolutely.
isn't harrowing all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, yeah, I love TikTok and, and X and things like that. So although would I have loved it when I was 13, 14? I don't know.
And I think this is the question. But if we take that line in the sand approach, I think we lose the opportunity to understand behaviour. Because what happens at 16 years and one day? What happens at 17? What happens at 18? How do we educate those young people?
Well, I know it's crude to say it, but it's kind of like going to a pub for the first time, 18, and getting absolutely smashed, isn't it? Away. I'm not being, it is though, isn't it?
I'll have a mighty whitey, please. Ooh, let's kind of, let's slow down a little bit. And I think I recognise, and I have seen firsthand, the damage that social media can do to people when it's not managed. But it has to be, it takes a village to raise a child. It's not just incumbent upon the parents. It's the parents, it's other adults in that young person's life, it's their teachers, it's their role models. Because what I do know, smoking's been illegal for however, people shouldn't do it. Even when I was back at school, people were sneaking out for a crafty fag in the toilets. So young people will find a way to access it.
Yeah.
Is my thoughts.
True. Tell us a little bit about the relationship between the college and the council.
Okay, yeah. The college has been on a journey in the last few years. I think it was a little known fact that City College Peterborough, in essence, has always been a department of Peterborough City Council, offered with certain freedoms and flexibilities that came in 2014, I think it was. And we sort of had a separate sort of structure through our governing board. What we've recognised, and we spoke earlier about some of those financial challenges and how we can create best value for money, with limited funds coming into the college and creating a better economy of scale, we needed to look at how we can make those efficiency drives for the college. One of the models that we looked at was returning to being a full, if you like, department of the council. So that's the journey we've been on, through lots of project planning, through cabinet decisions. It's a whole new language for me. It's a steep learning curve, and I'm getting there. But as of the 2nd of January, City College Peterborough returned to being a full internal department of Peterborough City Council. That in itself has created some challenges, not just for City College Peterborough, I think for Peterborough City Council, because the reality is what we do here isn't just able to be picked up and sat neatly into that structure. So I'm fortunate. I've been working with some colleagues at the council, and they've been working with us, and we're finding the way forward together. Phase 1 of the project plan is done. Phase 2 is sort of running for the next 3 months. This will not be over until we get to the end of 2026, because what we all agreed on was that from day one, for learners and supported people walking through our door, the college couldn't feel different. We still needed those freedoms and flexibilities to be able to operate, to deliver our service, to give rapid support, to be that lifeline. We just need to do that within a landscape that is recognising who we are and what we do, but within the broader corporate landscape of Peterborough City Council. I'm very comfortable with that. I think it offers us really good opportunities for closer working with other council departments and feeding into that bigger corporate landscape and strategies. And if you think about the whole of PCC and where the college sits, that's opportunity. And we don't just talk about learners at City College Peterborough, we're talking about residents, we're talking about all the people of Peterborough. I think that can only be good.
So the aim is by the summer of 2026, you'd be integrated, but you would hope that the people who come here don't actually see too much of a difference.
Absolutely. What they're likely to see, if they're hugely observant, is privacy notices on our website. They'll see the PCC logo, and it's already present on a lot of our media and branding. But it's those type of things that will make a difference to what we do behind the scenes. So the wiring, if you like, but the service that we offer can only get better, I believe, as a result of this. And I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't believe that.
Yeah. And do you just, not necessarily through the council, but do you engage with like local employers to help? Because I know of some of the things you do, but you will be better at describing them than I do. Tell us about that journey from being here to going into employment.
Yeah, real recognition that what we don't want to do is bring young people or adults into the college. Here you go, here's your qualification, go find yourself a job. Not how it works. We need to avoid the cliff edge. We need to support people. If we're saying people are coming into our environment and they need that wraparound support, that doesn't just end once a qualification is achieved. Quite often that's just the start of it. So let's talk a little bit about our young people. We've got a careers team that are there. They will go out, they'll engage with employers, they'll ask them to come in, give talks to our young people, offer work placements. We've got that happening in our supported employment team, working with adults with learning disabilities. We've got the adult team here at Brook Street, offering careers information, advice and guidance. And we see this as a partnership. So one really great partnership that I'm really proud of is with Millfield Autos. So they offer placements for our young people. They come in and offer talks. They've sponsored some of the things that we're doing. The guys have got their branded hoodies. We're on their website. So it's almost a kind of a partnership. We don't just want to take from employers. We also want to be able to give back. And I think those partnerships are really special. And sometimes people think, oh, we can't offer a work placement. That's the end of it. Okay, but could we talk about coming in and giving a talk? You know, could we put some leaflets in your foyer? It's about engaging, and often it's relationship. It's can we build a relationship with these employers, particularly in Peterborough, those small to medium-sized employers, because Peterborough has them in an abundance. The bigger employers, you've got the corporate social responsibility. They're mandated to do stuff. The smaller employers, not so much. So let's have a conversation. What can we do for you? Did you know by engaging with City College Peterborough, these are the benefits to your business? Oh, and by the way, you could also help this individual on their journey. That's the approach that we take, and it's really starting to give us some dividends back. And we've had some great news stories. IKEA, 6 of our supported people went through for sort of a job. 50%, 3 of them have ended up in employment and are being supported by our job coaches into transitioning into their full-time employment. That's to be celebrated each and every day as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, marvellous.
Yeah, really good stuff.
So I guess to wrap it up, and I think that will flow nicely into it, what's the future hold over the next 3, 5, 10 years? What do you hope will happen?
I find myself these days thinking strategically, so it goes 3, 5 and 10 years.
Well, I did well.
Really well. Most people will say I'm as mad as a box of frogs, and I'll take that all day long. And I kind of lead beyond the badge. I want to understand what people's needs are. So I think in the short term, we've done that piece of work, and I have heard loud and clear what the staff need to do their jobs, what the learners need to come here and have successful interactions with us. It's not to say I've stopped listening, but everything I've heard so far has now been formalised, if you like, into our strategy. That is closely aligned with Peterborough's strategy, and that runs us for the next sort of 3 years. What happens beyond that is positioning the college to be here and keep doing what it's done. So that 3 years then is reviewed, and that rolls us into the next 5 years. Now, as for 10 years, will I still be here at City College Peterborough? I'm not too sure. I hope to be, but certainly the next 3 to 5 years, we're on solid ground. We've got a strong trajectory. I think in terms of the next 10 years, we're looking at those kind of local government review. Where will that put the college? Some of the geographical splits and boundary changes, we need to consider that. But the next 3 to 5 years, the future's really bright for City College Peterborough, for our staff and for our learners and supported people. We'll be here for many, many years to come. We've been here post-war. We will keep being here for the future. And that's something that excites me each and every day.